Tuktamysheva believes in Sofia's success under Alexei Nikolaevich's guidance. Dear reviewers, before watching the video, please subscribe to the channel. My goal is to delight 10,000 subscribers with new videos. Thank you. New rink, new coach, new city. 18-year-old Sofia Muravyova has decided to make a radical change. She moved from Moscow to St. Petersburg to train with Alexei Mishin. Now it's official. Sophia has already begun training with the team and shared a photo with her new coach. Today, not only the beautiful sun greeted me in St. Petersburg, but also wonderful people, jubilei, and a new chapter in my life. Thank you, Alexei Nikolaevich. I hope we will share an interesting and exciting journey together. Muravyova wrote on social media. Evgeny Plushenko also offered warm farewells. I'll be following your successes under the guidance of your new coaching staff. You have a wonderful mentor, with whom I've shared the most dazzling 20-year journey of my career. You can do anything. I believe in you. So what can we expect from Sofia Muravyova and Alexei Mishin's collaboration? Let's break it down. Sofia's last season was very challenging. Growing up, a string of disappointing fourth-place finishes, health and motivation issues. In short, it was a difficult year, ultimately leading to her separation from her previous coaching team. From the outside, it seemed like the conditions at Angels of Plushenko were excellent, and that Sonia and the school were a perfect fit. However, a high-profile separation occurred, as too many tensions had accumulated over the years. A radical change of scenery will help Muravyova rethink figure skating, her role in the sport, and her training process. Tatiana Tarasova, for example, has positively assessed Muravyova's transition to Mishin. I don't think it will be a bad thing. I love this girl. She's very hard-working. And she skates in her own way, unlike anyone else. She has good jumping. I'm sure she'll acquire even more qualities with Mishin. At Plushenko's Angels, Sofia worked closely with Dmitry Mikhailov. Nikita Mikhailov choreographed the Swan Lake diptych last season, and Natalia Linichuk also contributed. Fans felt that Muravyova had become trapped in lyrical images, but her last season saw two striking showcases, The Leopard and Alice in Wonderland. These programs have revealed Sonia in a new light, and new specialists can continue this development. It's already known that Ilya Averbik will be working with Sofia on one of the productions. Alexei Nikolaevich approached me with a proposal to create a program for Sofia Muravyova for next season, the choreographer noted. Work on the program will begin in May, but Averbik is not yet revealing any details. There's also the possibility of collaborating with a foreign choreographer. In recent years, Alexei Nikolaevich's students have worked extensively with the French choreographer Benoit Richaud, with considerable success. At Russian competitions, programs by the renowned foreign choreographer have been presented by Evgeny Semenenko, Agata Petrova, and Roman Kamzin. It will also be very interesting to see whether Elizaveta Tuktamysheva, a teacher at the Boris Eifman Academy, can offer Sofia something new. This choreographer has been working with Alexei Nikolaevich's students for several years, specifically on the aesthetics of movement and plastic expression. Muravyova's ability to perform ultra-C jumps was likely one of the reasons Mishin quickly recruited her to his group. The triple axel is her signature jump. In 25 attempts at competitions, she has fallen only 5 times, 3 of which occurred at a single event, the Grand Prix in Moscow in November 2023. 14 axels, 6 in combination, were executed with positive marks from the judges. Her phenomenal consistency with this element earned Muravyova silver at the 2022 Russian Jumping Championships, 8 clean attempts in a row. And even in the turbulent past season, Muravyova still managed to perform the triple axel. Sofia regained her ultra-C jump for the Russian Jumping Championships and successfully performed it at the same jubilei. The result was silver in the individual competition and a spot on the team. Stabilizing his signature jump could be exactly what Mishin is looking for. And clean skates with a consistent triple axel are a great way to compete for the top spots. Tarasova commented on Muravyova's departure from Plushenko. Sofia left the Angels of Plushenko Academy, surprising figure skating fans. Tatiana Tarasova supported the skater. I'd like to talk to Sonia and give her some advice. Muravyova was doing well. She's grown up, matured, and hasn't lost a single element she mastered as a child, which says a lot. Tarasova commented. According to media reports, the reason for Muravyova's expulsion was frequent absenteeism, tantrums, and systematic violations of the training process. Sofia has decided to transfer to Alexei Mishin's group. Mishin on Muravyova's performance at the Russian Championships. The result was positive. Muravyova took 5th place with 215.74 points in the sum of the two programs. Our collaboration with Sonia Muravyova has only just begun. I think it's too early to draw any conclusions, even interim ones. I can say that compared to Sonia's level at the beginning of the season, her performance at the Russian Championships is positive. We still have a lot of work to do to increase the complexity of the content. This process is not yet complete. Ms. Hin said. Sofia Muravyova. I'm happy and grateful that the Russian Championships turned out the way they did. I don't even know. I'm really happy and grateful that everything turned out the way it did today. I wasn't nervous at all today or yesterday. Maybe the nap helped. I slept well yesterday. Reworking the content was my idea. Right now, it's easier for me to jump a Lutz than a flip. In the second half, I'm more comfortable doing it. I thought, why am I jumping a Lutz and a flip in the first half? If I can do a second Lutz in the second half. What helped today? Everything helped, all the work I put in during training. I structured my work differently, and that helped. I hope I'll make it to the exhibitions. I just want to be there. Muravyova said. How's your relationship with Elizaveta Tuktamysheva? I couldn't imagine anything better. I'm happy with how things turned out in my life, that I met Liz in a different way. I work with her every day. She sees all my joys, sorrows, difficulties, and small victories. We have a large coaching staff. Everyone knows their job and enjoys it. There's a feeling that you're needed, as strange as that may sound, the figure skater was quoted as saying by Championship. Elizaveta Tuktamysheva is taking on a new role as coach of the Russian Championships, which kicked off in St. Petersburg. Now she's at the boards, next to her boss, Alexei Mishin, giving advice, helping, holding napkins. Even her birthday on December 17th didn't stop her from being at the rink from morning until late the next evening. Sports met with Tuktamysheva yesterday to discuss coaching, her recent interview with Vita Kravchenko, and the problem of violence in children's sports. I saw you and Alexei Nikolaevich standing by the side of the ice during Sonia Muravyova's training session. What's your role in her preparation now? I'm an assistant coach. Alexei Nikolaevich oversees all the training, and I sometimes offer technical advice and manage emotional moments. For example, I've known Alexei Nikolaevich for many years and understand what he means better than I do. He sometimes speaks in metaphors or 3 steps ahead, and sometimes it's hard to understand. Why do this when we're talking about something completely different? But he simply sees the whole picture and talks about the end result, skipping the first and second steps. I'm probably explaining it confusingly, but I really don't have a clear role. I just help where I see my help needed. Do you find it easier to work with children or with mature, established athletes like Sonia? It's much more difficult with children. You have to actively demonstrate, motivate, and maintain focus. It's very tiring physically. With adults, it's interesting because you see the results right away. Here, I can draw on my own experience as an adult athlete. I understand better how to structure the process. But overall, I like everything, it's just different. It's New Year's show season now. Will you be performing? Yes, right after the Russian Championships and until January 11th, I have a crazy schedule. We have a dress rehearsal on Monday, then 5 shows a day. We'll only have 1 day off, January 1st. How do you cope? It's common practice. Many people who skate in shows are either professional athletes or work somewhere else. Shows are wonderful, but it's not their main job. It's hard to juggle everything, but it's definitely manageable for 2 weeks. Moreover, there's motivation. The intensity of the show also means a high salary, and that's good news. Does being a TV presenter or in the media not appeal to you as much as coaching? Maybe I just prefer to stay in my comfort zone. By the side of the ice, next to Alexei Nikolaevich. I tried media work too. The first year, when I wasn't competing, I often skated at competitions and did commentary. I liked that too. But you still need to spend more time in Moscow, plus you're constantly traveling. On a global level, coaching is incredibly interesting to me. I see growth in it for myself and for others, and I feel like I can be useful. When you see an athlete improving and how you influence that, it immediately makes sense. Although, financially, coaching and working in the media are completely incomparable. Media is much more profitable. So far, I've been able to juggle everything. I recently went on a business trip to Japan, came back, and was straight back to the rink. Yes, it's tough without days off, but as long as I'm young and healthy, it's fine. I love traveling, I enjoy commentating, and interacting with international athletes. I just need to brush up on my English to feel completely at ease. Do you feel like show business isn't your thing? I used to think I'd be able to do it. But when I look at Lesh Yagidin, for example, who's a natural at it, I realize I'm different. Whether it's because I'm so comfortable with Alexei Nikolaevich and our group or something else, it's only when I'm standing at the boards that I feel like I belong. And when I have the opportunity to learn from such a legendary figure as my mentor, I don't want to pass it up. Perhaps things will change, I'm not saying never. Who knows, maybe in a year I'll be running around here in feathers, entertaining people. You went to the Grand Prix final in Japan and went shopping there with Kaori Sakamoto. How was that? Not exactly. My sister and I were shopping and ran into Kaori on the street. She was also carrying huge shopping bags, which was funny. Then I ran into an acquaintance at the store whom I hadn't seen for 10 years. He was there as a pairs coach, and it was in the city, far from the rink. We didn't even know we were both in Japan. What a wonderful encounter. Do you love Japan? Very much. Any Japanese city is wonderful, and Nagoya is no exception. There's a park nearby, beautiful weather, shops. It's a shame we didn't have much time to explore because we spent so much time skating. I went to both training and competitions. I had to film vlogs, interviews, and prepare for them, but watching competitions and interviewing simultaneously turned out to be quite challenging, especially when you want to talk to everyone during the warm-up. It was my first time working so hard, and I was even a little tired. Although I love watching figure skating, especially in such an atmosphere, it was a real celebration. Let's talk about women's skating. We didn't spare Alyssa Liu, saying she wasn't showing anything new. Her program was last year, her content was easier than what you'd done. Do you agree? I like Alyssa's inner strength, the way she feels on the ice. For that reason alone, I can't be negative about her or call her skating insufficiently challenging. Why does she win even without the Ultra C? Because she executes all the elements so effortlessly, as if they were nothing to her. I don't think her skill should be underestimated. Yes, I partly agree that her program isn't the most difficult, but going out there and skating like that is already a lot of work, and it's worth remembering that. So, you shouldn't think that Adelia Petrosian is going to come out and beat everyone on one leg. Of course, they're really picky about under rotations now, giving cue marks even where there used to be a clean jump. Clean skating with correct edges is valued. Personally, I like that there's no clear leader in the world among women right now, but there's very interesting competition. I guess that's what makes sport a sport. Are you going to the Milan Olympics? I don't know yet in what capacity, but I really want to. I have a visa. Who will you be rooting for? I want Kaori to do well. It doesn't even matter what medal she wins, as long as she skates both programs cleanly. She and I are the closest. We competed together. But overall, I think there are at least 4 athletes who deserve first place at the Olympics. And our Adelia, of course, is among them. You recently gave a big interview to Vita Kravchenko. I know you hesitated for a long time. Ever since he first wrote to me, I've been hesitating for a year. I've been in therapy all this time, working with a psychologist, trying to find my inner freedom. And when Vita wrote a second time, I realized that if I didn't give this interview now, I never would. All this year, I thought that if he interviewed another skater now, I'd never forgive myself. And apparently, he heard my thoughts. I've long wanted to talk in this format. Show Glazov, talk about all the difficulties we've been going through, about my story. You've watched other interviews on the channel, and you knew what we were going to talk about, right? Of course, I've seen episodes with Rita Mammon, Ekaterina Gamova, Alexander Bublik, and many others. I had a friend who really loved watching Vita, and he got me hooked. I think Vita is a very insightful interviewer. He really opens up his interviewees. He has a talent for grasping what's truly important. And I thought it was time to start talking about important issues in figure skating, too. To touch on issues that aren't usually discussed, but they exist. Did you like the result? Very much. We filmed a lot, talked about a wide range of topics, and only a small portion made it into the film. Vidya felt a little sorry for me, not including any catchy phrases that could have resonated. How did you like the reaction to your episode? It's nice that when people come up to me for a photo, they often say they watched the interview and really enjoyed it. Many people wrote, including from abroad. Not only fans wrote, but also athletes, my acquaintances and friends. I'm glad my thoughts were included. Maybe someone will reflect, remember they're not alone, and want to rethink and work through old traumas. Then everything we did wasn't in vain. One of the important topics of the episode was violence in children's sports. What can be done about it? At the very least, start talking about it. I grew up in a system where results are achieved, let's say, under pressure. And for a long time, I thought there was no other way, that this was the right thing to do. Then I started looking at other people, discussing my doubts, including with a psychologist. And through inner work, through the positive experiences of others, I realized that there was a different way. Now I work with children myself and see that, in addition to the carrot and stick approach, there is also the carrot method. When children listen to you because they respect you or want to please you, they're interested, they enjoy working with you, but they don't work out of fear of what will happen if they make a mistake. What kind of trainer are you? I try to work from the position that I'm a friend, that you can trust me. At first, I was worried that the children would take advantage of me and start taking advantage. But maybe I've got good children, but so far that hasn't happened. It's truly a pleasure to work with them. Sometimes, for example, a child struggles with a certain element, and you think, I could really yell at you for that right now. But in reality, they can't do it because they don't feel it, they don't understand how to do it. You can send them back and forth, putting them in a situation where they're guaranteed to lose. Or you can calmly say, okay, so not today, let's do something else. This is my experiment. Try to be a friend, not a boss. We'll see what happens. What if someone is lazy, misbehaving, or spends time on their phone? Maybe the coach should never use a whip at all? Good question. I haven't had any such difficulties yet, perhaps because the kids are 7-8 years old. As soon as you establish rapport, their eyes start to sparkle. I haven't worked closely with teenagers yet. But in general, of course, a coach can both apply pressure and bring them to their senses. I'm not saying you shouldn't raise your voice or be harsh. Sometimes you can and should encourage a child, but there's a fine line. Don't humiliate, insult, or use physical force. Try to understand how your athlete is feeling and how to interact with them appropriately. Some athletes need praise, while others, on the contrary, shouldn't be overly praised and should be spoken to in a dry, stern tone. That's probably the challenge of being a coach. Have you ever lost your temper during training? Not yet. I've raised my voice and yelled at someone, but I've never been provoked into yelling. I've kept my temper under control, perhaps because I'm not the head coach and it's not just my responsibility. Or maybe it's because I haven't had much time. I've only been working closely for about 6 months. Or maybe that's just the way I am. How do you interact with the parents of young athletes? That's not my responsibility. The head coach usually talks to them. In principle, if a child feels comfortable with a parent present during training, I don't mind. The main thing is that they don't get distracted. We were talking with Daniel Glakengos about Elena Kostaleva's story, and he said, between a very talented child and my happy, calm coaching, I would definitely choose the happy coaching. Do you agree? Of course, I haven't encountered anything like that yet, but I also believe that no matter how talented a child is, it's impossible to work with them under pressure. I'm following Lena's story, and it's very scary. No one knows how such emotional instability, the instability of the person closest to her, will affect her later. I think such methods can only work up to a certain age, until the child grows up and finds their own voice. You went to the US for an internship with Rafael Arutunian. Tell us about it. I was incredibly interested. I listened to every word he said. He explains in great detail the purpose of each movement, the meaning of each training session, and so on. I'd gotten used to Alexei Nikolaevich over the years, but here he had a completely different approach. When I returned, I realized I'd begun to understand Alexei Nikolaevich better as a coach, not just as an athlete. I also try to understand his every thought. And Rafael himself is cool, simple, and human. I guess I'm lucky with good male coaches, haha.